I think it's important that, you know, people like Lisa and Amy Tang and all these writers keep writing what they're writing. And for, you know, whatever Asian you are, you know, to just keep sticking to making these movies. It is difficult these days because the world is so global and money is so impossible to put together. You know, sometimes you have to make certain choices. You know, but stay with the authenticity and trying to make it real and keep doing it. There's nobody else that'll do it. I mean, none of the studios would say, well, let's make a movie about Asians. That.
Couple more questions? Yes, Cliff?
I was curious about the casting of the film in, as you mentioned, so many different languages and where these actresses came from, what it was like directing them in many different languages on the set.
That's a tough question. I'll answer it this way. Actually, Bingbing Lee, who played Lily and Nina, was very interesting. She said that working with Gianna Jung, who's Korean, so she was speaking Korean in a lot of the scenes because she is a much better actress in Korean. Originally, I had hoped she would learn Chinese very well, but she learned it pretty good, but not good enough. But Bingbing said it really forced her to watch her and truly listen to her because you don't have the language to rely on. So you have to watch her eyes, you have to watch her gestures, you have to just listen to her, really with her whole body. And that, I think, for me, that was kind of an experience like that too. I mean, we rely on dialogue too much. And I think it's good sometimes to just not listen to the dialogue, but listen to what the person is actually doing or saying with their body or in their eyes. That's maybe the best way I can answer that question.
Other question? Yes, over here.
Okay, so I thought the history, the historical aspect, and the contemporary stories were really nicely integrated. And this has been touched on already from Professor Field's question about adapting the novel, but was the historical aspect supposed to make us be interested in genealogy in any way? Because my mom is from Taiwan, and she told me stories about how she could trace her family back to the origins of the KMT. And so again, yeah, is the historical part supposed to get us interested in doing genealogy?
That's how.
Well, you mean the historical part as it relates to this modern story?
Yeah.
Well, I don't know anything. I mean, that's really Wayne's answer because he's the one who added the modern story. But that wasn't my intention. My intention was, when I wrote the novel, which has nothing of the modern story in it, was to write a story of friendship, a story about the nature of love and what that means, and the nature of true heart love, deep heart love. And I was so, again, as I said earlier, just obsessed with the secret language, and I just could not believe that this existed out there in the world. You know, the only writing system to be found anywhere in the world used exclusively by women. I mean, remarkable. And they kept it a secret 1,000 years. So I just felt, again, you know, this incredible passion for that. And I wasn't thinking about genealogy for a second. I already wrote that book.
Right, but genealogy was the core of your first book, right?
Yeah, it was my first book. So but maybe in the film that was something you were thinking of, but maybe in that same sort of Confucian way that we were talking about.
We sort of answered that earlier too. So, but for myself, I mean, I was interested. I'm sure this is probably true of Lisa too. I knew that foot binding existed. I didn't know the details of it, and through making the film or writing the book, it's a way for me to understand it more. And I try to translate that on screen so you can understand it more and feel it more. And that's what that it's about.
It's very effective because it takes something that we all know culturally in the abstract and really literalizes it, and it's really, shows the horror of it and the pain, and I thought that was very effective. There was a hand.
Thank you.
Congratulations. It's a very good movie, good film, a very touching one, and it clears my tear channels too. I have a question on the multilingual or different dialects used in the film. I'm fortunate to be able to understand all the dialects, but if from a commercial point of view, would that be a handicap? And that's the first question. The second question is, since it also has English and the Chinese, so is it considered a Chinese movie or an American movie? And whether this will have any impact on Oscar Academy rules. Thank you.
I have no idea about the Oscar, so that's for someone else to decide, and I don't know what the rules are. The language is a difficult question, I like a lot of different dialects, and I try to be true to the dialects that are around. I know there's a lot of Shanghainese dialect being spoken because we are in Shanghai. And there's some Korean being spoken because one of the characters now is Korean in the modern day story. Again, I mean, all these dialects and different languages exist in the world today, especially in a place like Shanghai, Hong Kong, Korea, even in Seoul. So I hear, New York downtown, I hear more different languages spoken other than English. I never hear English in New York downtown. So dialect and languages are so interesting now all around the world and becoming very mixed up.
But is it considered an American film or a Chinese film? Because
it's a Chinese film.
It is a Chinese film.
It is a Chinese
film. Yeah, because it just won an award the other night. We were all there. So
yes, at the Chinese American Film Festival. I think we have a question down front. Just wait for the mic.
I was a theater major and a film major, so I could have spoken without the mic. But I have a question. I'm just going to fake a question because I don't really have a question. What sign are you, Lisa? Sign. Just this is a fake question, so just answer however you want. Because I just want to applaud the women here.
Well, I'm a sheep in the Chinese calendar and Aquarius in the Western.
Great. I just want to thank you, Florence and Lisa, so much for doing this movie. I didn't want to just say a comment, but I just feel so incredibly moved. First of all, as a filmmaker, a writer, myself, and a producer, I know, even in the business, working, and I have for many years, and so you will work after you get your degrees here, believe me. But how hard it is still to get the women's story told, even though we are a large percentage of the population. In fact, most believe a little bit more of that population, that it is so discouraging to be the girl in the room, and even in whether you're writing or whether you're just trying to tell a story about a woman. It's very interesting. Just the difference, because I sit when I pee and I don't stand, is just really nominal to me, but not in the world still. So this is just such a beautiful story of triumph of the spirit, and I do love that. Even though I'm a writer, I would be like incensed if someone wanted to add a whole nother like present dimension to it, present time story. What was so beautiful about that edition is that it does show that those hard stories are on a continuum in the survival of the spirit, even in confines, just like in slavery and in the Holocaust and all of those different times of great, great, great tragedy. And I think that women still feel that, and to see that love and ingenuity can still prevail. And so I just want to compliment you for all you did to make it happen, and for all those hours in such a beautiful, important story on so many levels. So
thank you. And I want to take this moment to thank the panelists so much for their time and generosity in being here and this beautiful film. Thank you.